All right, Chairman, it's up to you.
Okay.
Okay, let's get started, everyone. Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us on this, I guess we're now in the dog days of summer. It's been very, very hot, and it's kind of unusual year and summer. We miss all of you. We miss seeing you in person, but we are surviving. We're getting through, and we look forward to a day when we can be together again in person. So this will be our summer. This is our July 22nd board meeting of the Hudson River Valley Greenway Community Council and Conservancy. And I wanted to ask, as we review the agenda, if there are any board member comments on the agenda. Okay, hearing none, let's move to approve our past minutes. We've got to have two approvals here. The first is for the combined meeting that we had on the phone on June 22nd. So let's do that first. This will be again for anyone from either board that was present at that email.
I'll move it, McHenry.
Okay, and a second? This is from anyone on the board.
Second.
Jeannie Williams.
Great, thank you, Jeannie. All in favor, please signal by saying aye.
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 Any opposed?
I'm not sure if I can vote. This is Kitty. I was there by proxy.
You can vote.
Okay. Aye.
Terrific. Okay, so moved. And now this next vote is to approve the minutes of the Grants Committee only, which met last week on the 15th of July to review the grants that we'll be going over today. So this is just for members of the Grants Committee to approve those minutes. First and a second are needed.
I move the approval. This is Wint.
Thank you, Wint. And a second?
Well, I think it might be somebody there, so don't.
Okay, Barney, do you want to say this?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. All right, let's do all in favor, please signal by saying aye. Again, this is Grants Committee only. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? Hearing none, they are moved. Okay, terrific. So now we will move to the community council portion, and Barney, that's your part of the meeting.
Okay, it's very faint, but anyway, we have so welcome, and we have 1, 2, 3, 5 NHA grant request. Is there anything before that?
Yes, Barney. We're going to do the council meeting before we do the NHA meeting.
Okay,
and
that's
just a brief discussion on the budget to update the council board on where that budget stands. So at this time, the council is not able to provide grants under the direction of the state, nor are we able to pay out standing grants. Our non-personal services budget has been cut to the bare minimum. Mostly it's postage and auto repairs, and anything we need to keep our computers and our network up and running. So that's all we've got. We are estimating that they're going to let us spend over the course of the year somewhere between $77,000 and $100,000 of a budget, which was originally $321,000 with a cash ceiling of $286,000. If there's federal action to reimburse states for expense and revenue losses during the pandemic, that could change. But right now, we're not expecting a great deal of money. The only thing they haven't touched is the only thing that hasn't been cut yet in the council is personal services, which we use to pay our retirement bill each year. And we will vote on this budget under the Conservancy meeting when we do the rest of it. So there's no votes for the council to take. And that's all we have for the council meeting. Kevin, if you want to open the Conservancy meeting.
Yes, let's move forward. Conservancy meeting is open. And let's see. First order of business is to call the meeting to order, and then to ask Andy Beers for an update on the trail. Scott, you've been keeping us up to date. Your photos have been wonderful, and this is just one of the really good news projects in an otherwise really dismal year of news. So we are looking forward to hearing an update from Andy.
Thank you. So this is Andy Beers. Scott sent around that fabulous slide deck of progress over the last year and a half now of trail construction of our 36-mile Albany-Hudson Electric Trail. We are on track to complete the entire trail by November and open it by then, mid-November. We are optimistic that at some point in August, we'll be able to formally open the first 11 miles out of the 36. As you can imagine, in a trail of this length, it's built in sequentially. So, if and when we have a formal announcement that part of the trail is open, we will send it out at that point. And I think Scott's slide deck shows both the complexity and the progress and what a beautiful trail it's going to be when it's done. It certainly met and exceeded our expectations of what this trail would be when we first launched the planning way back in 2017. On the larger Empire State Trail, work on our roster of 58 construction projects, large and small, across the state, largely continued on unabated through the COVID issues this spring because public works projects were generally characterized as essential construction. There were a few hiccups here and there, as you can imagine, in this challenging time. So there's a few projects that could slide over into the early 2021. But basically, by December, we will meet the governor's mandate and direction that we have a continuous 750-mile Empire State Trail in place by December. So our many agency partners, DOT, Canal Corp, State Parks, Metro North, a number of local governments that we've provided grants to, everybody is working in concert and sprinting towards completing the projects. The other major single largest construction, the Albany-Hudson Electric Trail is the largest new rail trail that's being built in the Hudson Valley, but the other second largest, at 22 miles, Metro North is building a new rail trail called the Maybrook Trailway from Putnam in Putnam County, from the village of Brewster north to connect to the Dutchess Rail Trail in Hopewell Junction in Dutchess County. And that trail is also well along, and I've been out on parts of it. It's just fabulous as well, and we'll send some future pictures along when that's available. It's going to be a major new rail trail asset in Dutchess and Putnam counties, and connects to the Dutchess Rail Trail that goes to the walkway onto New Paltz and connects south to the Putnam and Westchester Trailways all the way to New York City. So it was the big missing link in the lower Hudson Valley and the trail. Last thing I would just say is we've been working, we hired a consultant, been working with our agency partners to create a much more robust Empire State Trail website that will include a very fancy interactive mapping feature that allows you to see the entire 750-mile route, but you can zoom into any section, see exactly where the trail goes and what public streets it crosses and where the designated parking is, and is it asphalt or is it stone dust? Can I bring my dog to this section? What are nearby attractions like historic sites and museums and farm stands and other things you might want to visit. So that's expected to go live in mid-August. We're just in the final tweaks of optimizing the maps and some of the other features. That's my report. I can hear somebody is typing away on your computer, so suggest you just mute your line if you're typing. That's my report. Thank you.
Well, who put together, this is Barney McHenry, who put together this marvelous Albany Hudson Electric Trail dated July 22nd? It's a terrific job.
That was Scott, Barney.
Yeah,
that was
Scott put that together. Yep, pictures that we've been accumulating, but Scott assembled.
He's finally done something right. I mean, it's perfect. I think it really is. It's largely self-explanatory, and the photographs are really good.
Cell phone cameras are amazing these days.
I couldn't agree more. And building on that,
did you take most of these, Scott?
Yes.
Well, they're damn good.
I couldn't agree more. I also
Kitty.
wanted to build. 1 second, Kitty. I just wanted to build on what Andy's saying, Barney, and ask Andy, Andy, are there plans, I assume there are, but can you describe them, to really market the trail once it's available and done? I mean, is there going to be drone footage that kind of creates a commercial that people will know about it through TV or online? Or what do you know yet? Can you speak yet to the rollout and how it's going to work?
Yeah, I think, the general outlines of that will be the marketing of the trail. I mean, obviously the website is a major tool to do that. But we're a part of our team is I Love New York, part of the Economic State Development team, right? And so they are really the state's marketing promotional agency. And of course, the Greenway doesn't have a promotional budget that could, dent into the collective consciousness of New Yorkers and the rest of the country and the globe. So we're going to be primarily working through them. One of the nice features of the website is it's very visual. Just pictures of the trail, and for every section, from the section from New Paltz to Kingston, there's a gallery of pictures that are, work steadily been building up that really are meant to just convey, I'd rather be in that picture than instead of sitting at my desk, right? So it's going to be a very visual marketing strategy, and generally speaking, I Love New York as well as State Parks will be leading that effort with the Greenway, particularly, doing what we can in the Hudson Valley section.
When do you plan to go public, explaining all of this to the thousands who've been waiting anxiously to hear about more stone dust?
Yeah, well, that'll really be, this is governor's initiative. So any formal public announcements, press releases, ribbon cuttings are all coordinated through the governor's office. And as you can imagine, for the last 4 months, the governor's press operation has been focused almost exclusively on COVID issues, but they are now kind of just now returning back to more general state business and parks and trails and other things. So I expect that will accelerate through the summer and fall. It's a little bit complicated because we're not promoting tourism for people to come from other parts of the state or even travel across the state or from other parts of the country right now. So the message is recreate locally. And so certainly the website will be a way for people to access information about exactly where every designated parking area is along the trail and so forth in their communities. But it's a little bit of a, double-sided coin in the sense that right now New York is not out there promoting the world to come to New York. So it's probably going to see something, frankly, more in 2021. There'll be more of a marketing push than there will be this summer and fall for the Empire State Trail.
It's a first-class job you guys are doing.
And I think Kitty Brown wanted to say something.
Oh, yeah, thanks, Scott. Yeah, I was so impressed with that document on the progress of the Albany Hudson Electric Trail. It is just really a beautifully documented process on what it takes to convert something that has, fallen into disrepair. And the engineering challenges and how they were solved was, just very inspiring. And I especially loved the comment from the mother who said, now my children can walk down the trail to visit their grandmother and they don't have to go on the road. And so we are really making connections in wonderful ways. And I do want to add that I'm relieved to hear Andy talk about how it's not really going to be promoted widely and, basically until we get this virus a little bit better under control. I know that a lot of local communities are seeing a big influx of people who are desperate to get outdoors. And, I think anybody on the Greenway completely understands that need and just the consolation of nature and being outside. But locally, we are all experiencing some challenges with mask wearing and social distancing and trail etiquette. So, in a way, I think that we can use this pause to build the trail and then be ready next year to really start publicizing it.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
It really is. And Scott, you did a wonderful job in putting this promotional piece together, explanatory piece. How widely are you going to distribute that?
We will put it up on our website if Andy thinks it's a good idea. What we don't want to do at this point is encourage people to come out and use the trail while it's still under construction.
Yeah, I think that's right. What I would say is we need to hold it until some of the trail sections are open because, again, right now, technically, none of the trail is open. While significant parts of it are, the trail itself is constructed. As you've seen, we haven't finished the work at road crossings of putting in all the signage and crosswalks and other safety features. So we really can't invite the public to come until the trail is ready to accept them. So I think, Barney,
when
what
do you
we'll do
think
is
that will be?
First sections hopefully in mid-August and the entire trail by November. So at the appropriate time, I think it's a great document to put up on the website to, as I think it was Kitty who said, really show what's involved in building a trail of this nature. But I would say it's a little premature to publicly release it because, again, we don't, there's pictures of the beautiful trail there. We're not ready for people to come because all the safety features aren't done yet.
And we actually had to drive around some users at some points. We had to actually skip sections of the trail when I was getting a tour 2 Fridays ago, just because there were so many people using it, which is not ideal when it's still under construction.
But they were there, right?
We built it, and they are coming, yes.
Yeah, right. Okay.
This is Linda Bonnerhead. There's a definite pent-up demand for the trail, a trail in those areas. So it's like the minute anybody thinks it's open, they're going to be using it.
Yes, that's what we're seeing, and not even waiting. But that's good. We want it to be popular when it's done. If everybody's ready, I'll move on to the to the less fun stuff, the financial stuff that we have to go through for the Conservancy.
Yes, please do, Scott.
Okay. First thing is, and we'll do this with one vote, Kevin.
Yep.
Okay.
Sounds good.
The first thing, we did hold our Conservancy annual independent audits with our CPA. For the first time in 33 years, we did not all get together in a room and have discussions. We did it remotely by email and phone. Both the public benefit corporation and the not-for-profit audits have received an unqualified opinion, which states, in our opinion, the financial statements referred to above present fairly in all material respects the financial position of the Greenway Conservancy for the Hudson River Valley, Inc., or Greenway Heritage Conservancy, HRV, Inc., as of March 31st, 2020, and the changes in its net assets and its cash flows for the year then ended in accordance with accounting principles generally accepted in the United States of America. We did receive management letter communications and finance committee communications. There were no items listed in either, which means they found no errors in our accounting procedures. Does anyone have any questions on that? Okay. The next thing we have to do is adopt our annual budget and a contingency budget this year at the request of the Finance Committee. The 2021 proposed budget for the Conservancy, we actually received an increase in our appropriation this year from $166,000 to $200,000. And so far, that money is available to us. We've received $50,000. We have $50,000 in cash ready to be drawn down, which we've put a request in for, and the remaining $100,000 is segregated to go to us. These are all the funds for the Conservancy are all used for personal services, and so far there have been no cuts to those. So we're hoping that holds throughout the course of the year. We're going to know a lot more at the end of this month after all of the income tax revenues come in for the year. Trail grants, it doesn't look like we're going to be able to award them this year. We did put a full budget in showing that we could pay out the grants that we had. and award up to $500,000 in new grants for this year's appropriation. At this time and in the contingency budget, those have been zeroed out, except for what was spent prior to this freeze on payment of grants. The Empire State Trail, we have not changed it at all. In either, we are budgeting $27.5 million in both the full budget and the contingency budget because the governor's office let us know that this is a governor's priority project. We intend to fund it. Should that change at some point, Andy and I will have we'll have a full bore linear panic at first, and then we'll in the meantime, we don't anticipate a cut in this because it's a governor's priority.
Scott, at some point, should we let the governor know how pleased we are with the way this is proceeding? We should say something, I think, to him.
Andy is in communication with the governor's office on a regular basis.
I understand that, but he's doing that. But we want him to say particularly that the entire board is delighted with the way this is proceeding. Please, Andy.
We will do so.
Yeah, really nice. You can let them know that we just met and that everyone was enthusiastic and appreciates that this is moving forward during a very difficult time. So, Andy, is there a way for you to communicate that to your contact there?
Yeah, I'll certainly pass that along to the people that we report to and coordinate within the governor's office. Absolutely.
Great.
Okay, good.
Great, thank you.
On the remainder of the Conservancy budget, the Empire State Water Trail, the Newton Hook Boat Launch, the Hudson River National Estuarine Research Reserve programs, these are all funds that we have in the bank, or they are federal funds that we are still able to draw down. We did not particularly change those from the full budget to the contingency budget. On the Greenway Council, I discussed that before. We are looking at a severe cut for the council because it's non-personal services and grants for the most part. The National Heritage Area, we did receive $491,000 this year, the same as last year, and we have drafted a budget based on the work plan that we submitted that was reviewed by the management committee, the NHA management committee, and we are on track to spend those funds. There's been no problem getting those funds, and we have enough funds in the bank to operate for the rest of the year at this point, even if the federal government should cut those off. Does anybody have any questions on either the draft full budget or the reduced budget?
Scott, this is Sarah. I just have a related question, but not on this particular budget. Are you confident that grant funds already awarded will eventually be available?
Yes, I am at this point. We have received no instructions to cut those or anything like it.
That was Sarah, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
And I just, one other thing, the members of the Finance Committee have reviewed both of these budgets and did not provide any, did not ask for changes from what is presented to you here. Last item on this
Scott?
list. Yes.
No, just go ahead. Okay, go ahead.
Last item on this list is to adopt our Paris documents. New York State law requires public benefit corporations and public authorities in general to file documents with the authority's budget office through the Public Authority Reporting Information System, or PARIS. These documents, and there's about 120 pages worth, must be approved by the board. They were in your packet. They have been uploaded and submitted to the PARIS system on time. They had to be in by June 30th. They are substantially the same as what you voted on last year. with minor revisions reflecting different levels of income and expense that were incurred in this fiscal year compared to last fiscal year. Are there any questions on the Paris documents?
This is Linda Vonderheit again. I do have a comment that they keep on calling you the acting executive director on the agency control systems, and at some point that should be updated.
Yeah, we're trying to. Thank you. That may be us as much as anything else, but we have tried to correct that this year. So hopefully, when they go through and do the annual updates, that will take.
Thank you for pointing that out. We are very glad Scott is not acting. So whenever we see that, thank you for pointing it out, because we are very lucky to have him. Okay, Scott.
I think we're ready for a vote, Kevin.
Terrific. So this is, again, just for Conservancy board members. We're going to have one vote on the audits and the budget and the Paris documents. I'll need a first and a second.
I'll first. Stefan,
thank you. Okay.
Second, Sarah.
Sarah, thank you. Okay, terrific. All in favor, please signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, any opposed? Or any recusals? Okay, terrific. All right, so that then moves us into the National Heritage Area portion of the meeting, and as Scott said, this is where we have some ability to get some grant money out, so let's go ahead and do that. Scott, you want to walk us through the list here?
Sure. So what we did with this round of Heritage Development Grants, and we will continue to accept these applications moving forward. This is an added round of NHA grants, and this one was designed to allow the applicants to use the grant funds towards personal services, so they did not have to lay off staff at the heritage sites, which right now have almost no ability to bring in revenue. So we are proposing to award $25,790. The first one is to the FASNY Museum of Fighting for a virtual tour. They have requested $3,700, and the grants committee is recommending $3,700. And they propose to use an app called Guide by Cell to create a virtual tour of the museum and engagement specifically targeted at remote phone users. They will then promote this new virtual content via social media. The second grant is it's to the National Heritage Trust on behalf of Washington's headquarters to do a self-guided tour. They requested $3,500, and the grants committee is recommending that amount. The project will develop, host online, and print a self-guided tour document for their site. Parts of it seem to have been developed in a previous version, but now that the Tower of Victory is open, we expect they're updating that a little bit, and they will be able to proceed forward. Currently, they only have it in printed version, and having it online will be much better for people who want to walk the grounds. The third grant is for Sleepy Hollow Cemetery Historic Fund, Cemetery Critters and Creatures. They requested $5,200. The maximum is $5,000, and that's what the grants committee is recommending. They are going to develop and install signs highlighting the 10 species of mammals and birds commonly sighted at Sleepy Hollow Cemetery, which will be posted in strategic locations to educate visitors about the wild creatures that call this place home. The signs will be in both English and Spanish. The goal being to attract, Sleepy Hollow has a significantly large Hispanic community, and they don't get a lot of Hispanic visitors to the site, so they are trying to use this as one means to encourage visitation from a group that they're not currently getting, and provide a place of outdoor recreation for folks during this COVID period. The next one is.
I would encourage them. I'm sorry, Scott. It's Stefan. I would encourage them to apply another round for historic markers bilingual, Washington Irving's gravesite, etc.
We will do that.
All right. Thank you. Sorry for the interruption.
That's all right. I'm making a note so I don't forget it. The next one is the Underground Railroad Education Center in Albany, a new interpretation of an old story virtually. They have requested $3,600, and that's what the grants committee is recommending. And their project will prepare 2 virtual presentations highlighting Black Capital Region Underground Railroad abolitionists and the relationship of their work with us today, and ways to research hard-to-find Black history, complemented with content-specific Q&A booklets designed for a diverse youth, college, and adult worldwide audience. Next one is Walkway Over the Hudson, virtual program for sustainability. They requested $4,997.33, which is oddly specific. The grants committee is recommending $4,990. And the project is to expand their virtual lectures and online fundraising in tandem with their online fundraising in order to widen their audience and increase accessibility. They noted that when in-person programming was initially canceled due to COVID-19, they began offering online lectures, and to date they've offered 5 well-attended ones, and they're seeking to develop a couple of more here. The last one is Teton Lake Reservation for their environmental education distance learning. They requested, and the grants committee recommends, $5,000. And this program is to support technology enhancements, staff time, and promotional materials for a new environmental education initiative, such that school field trips and weekend community education programs may continue. So that's the grants. Does anyone have any questions?
And Scott, Bonnie McHenry, and I just have to make sure that I am not shown as voting on Washington's headquarters or Sleepy Hollow, because I'm on both of those boards.
All right.
And Bob Elliott needs to abstain on Teton.
Okay. But you're doing great stuff, Scott.
All right. If one of the chairs would like to call for a vote from both boards.
Yes, go ahead.
I move the approval. This is Wayne Aldrich.
Is there a second?
I'll second it. This is Linda Vonderheide.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? And any more abstentions? Excellent.
Okay, great. Thank you.
The last item on the NHA agenda is a web traffic update that Dan Jensen put together. We've seen about a 2% increase from 2019 through this period to date, which I find remarkable given the fact that most of the heritage sites have been closed for all of this year. The largest single day use for users was May 17th this year with 743, and in 2019 it was May 22nd, a similar day, both pretty close to Memorial Day, but the amount of visitors last year was only 393. Dan also noted a couple of oddities. Our users viewing the website in Chinese has increased 142% over last year.
Interesting.
We've gained 51 users using Spanish version of the website, up from 37 in 2019 to 75 this year. The top 10 countries by users, China increased by 52%, Australia by 37%, the Netherlands by 34%, and Japan by 9%, and the U.S. as previously mentioned by 2%. However, users in Canada were down 34%, Germany 32%, France 22%, and the UK 20%, reflecting Europeans are not looking to come here this year. We launched a women's history page in January, and it has seen 573 views. And we launched our new Voices of the Hudson Hudson River Train Tour page with all of the different stories, and it has already seen 633 views since May 1st. So that concludes the NHA portion. We now have new business, and I believe Andy Bicking wanted to talk to the group about restoring Mother Nature's Bond Act. Andy, are you still with us?
Yes, I'm here, and thanks so much, everyone, for the opportunity to give an update. If you recall, back in the spring, we shared a little information and enthusiasm that the governor and the legislature had approved the Restore Mother Nature Bond Act, a $3 billion investment in environment projects around the state. There was, of course, a twist because the state budget was negotiated and resolved right around the time that COVID was picking up, and there was a lot of uncertainty about the fiscal impact of the pandemic. And so there's been a provision built into the law that enables the director of budget under the governor's direction to certify the measure in order for it to move forward to the ballot. We are expecting the governor to make a decision on whether or not to certify the Bond Act for a public referendum in the very near future, and remain very optimistic, specifically because recent public opinion polling that Scenic Hudson conducted in conjunction with the steering committee for the Bond Act campaign within the 501c3 advocacy world found that over 2/3 of New Yorkers supported the measure. So it's really, really great news and information. And I can also share that the support among Hudson Valley communities remains high and also tracks with support throughout the state as a whole, making our region very important and instrumental to the ultimate success of the bond. Just a brief summary of what's included in the measure. There is $1 billion set aside for habitat restoration and flood risk reduction. There is also $550 million for open space, conservation, and recreation. This is really critical, I think, to the Greenway's mission, as there is a lot of potential investment that could be occurring in improving and creating parks and other amenities that people really appreciate and enjoy in the Hudson Valley. There is also a set aside of $700 million for climate change mitigation, including a lot of really fascinating urban strategies to make our downtowns more livable in light of a changing climate. And finally, $550 million for water quality improvement and flood resilience. And there's approximately $200 million left over that will be distributed to other priorities yet to be determined. It's also
and the total of that is what?
The total is $3 billion, Barney, which is a record investment. Yeah, really wonderful if this passes at the ballot box. It's also important to note that 35% of the proposed $3 billion bond would be directed towards environmental justice communities, of which the Hudson Valley has plenty. So there's a wonderful opportunity for geographies that have traditionally been underserved by programs in the state. So looking forward, certainly understand that our governmental partners on the call today need to kind of remain neutral on this, as is their charge and warrant. However, I would encourage any of the local government partners, municipalities, to consider passing a resolution in support of the bond as a way of indicating a measure of support to people within their jurisdictions, and would also encourage the non-governmental organizations, the 501c3s, to consider joining the campaign to pass the Bond Act. It comes with very few strings attached. All we're asking is for people to, at a basic level, add their name to our website and a list of partners who support this measure. And if anyone is interested in taking that step, you can reach me at Scenic Hudson. Email is best, and I'd be happy to send you some follow-up info.
Andy, this is Wind Aldrich calling. On a related, possibly generous source of support for this sort of thing, as I understand it from the news account, the Land and Water Conservation Fund is being given a new lease on life. The Congress, both houses, and anticipating the president signing a bill will really bring that wonderful old program back into play. As I remember, many years ago, New York State got $20 million in one particular year to be administered by environmental conservation in state parks for land acquisition as well as recreational programming. And if this happens, I know the National Park Service is in urgent need for a lot, but I believe the formula does require the money to be shared by formula to the states. And I hope that the Greenway initiatives and programs in the Hudson Valley, with a little nudge from Scenic Hudson, will be of benefit to everything that we're concerned about. Have you heard anything new about that?
Yes, absolutely. And actually this morning, the full funding for the Land and Water Conservation Fund, which is being referred to as Congress right now as the Great American Outdoors Act, that's just simply the legislative vehicle to drive the appropriation, is on the floor of the House for a vote. No, it's still the Land and Water Conservation Funds. The Great American Outdoors Act is just the name of the legislation that will be supporting the fund this year. So it's no surprise that the Hudson Valley's congressional delegation are strong supporters of the measure. But of course, encouragement at the last minute I know is always welcome, and I know we and others will do our best to make sure those resources, if secured, come to the Hudson Valley and the Greenway's mission in particular.
It's also interesting. This is Kevin. I'm seeing op-eds across the country in support of this. You know, Tennessee, Virginia. You know, places that you wouldn't normally suspect, perhaps support for spending. I'm seeing support in editorials, which is encouraging.
Indeed.
All right, so thank you, Andy. Any other new business before we hear the Scott's report and move to close the meeting? Okay, Scott, why don't you go ahead and give us your report?
Okay. You all may have noticed today that when you dialed in, there was not an 800 number option. That's because the state has discontinued them. So this is going to be the number going forward to call into all of these calls. I apologize, but I think finances are in a place where they couldn't afford an 800 number at this point. Our staff continues to work from home for the most part and is on track to meet all of their goals this year. They're doing a great job under trying circumstances. Some of us have begun to go into the office for brief periods of time to accomplish work we can't from home. Shannon in particular goes in weekly and gets the mail and scans everything that we need to see to us. Dan is going in once in a while. The Empire State Trail team regularly, and me much less so, are meeting with contractors and others involved in the Empire State Trail construction. We have been able, through the state, to provide personal protective equipment to each of the staff, including masks, gloves, and hand sanitizer. So we are doing our best to socially distance. And our other programs are continuing to push ahead as best we can with the constrictions that are in place at this present time. Does anyone have any questions on that?
No, we just want to thank all of our staff for, continuing to do such outstanding work under these circumstances. I think all of us in our own lives and our own work lives are facing similar constraints, and you guys have been, making it look like there have been no changes, and we appreciate it. And Scott, thank you for all you did to help with the transition to this virtual Greenway, and we're just hoping that we can get back to work soon.
And Kevin, we should note, Scott himself took all these pictures in this interim report.
That's right.
And they're really very good.
Well, thank you, Barney. Our next board meeting is October 14th, and the grants deadline for our NHA grants is September 11th. So that's all I did.
So we're right after Columbus. We haven't You still have him, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So that's it. Let's adjourn the meeting. We are in under an hour. Amazing. Thank you, everyone. I hope you have a good rest of your summer. And if you have any questions or concerns along the way, please be in touch with us through Scott or the team. And again, thank you for your service on this board. We miss you all and hope to see you again soon.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thanks, everybody.
Well done.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.